In this tutorial, we'll discuss about Blender Wall Factory that can help us to create some awesome things like a fort or a tunnel. It's a very useful feature that comes with Blender. The option is visible under the Add menu, under Extra Objects, then Wall Factory, but if you can't see it here, just open Preferences from the Edit menu, then go to this Add-ons tab. And then here, search for Extra. You have to enable Add Mesh Extra Objects with this checkbox. You don't need to download anything. It is already installed on your machine. Let's delete this and go to the Add menu, Extra Objects, and select Wall Factory. It will create a basic brick wall like this, with the default settings, and we can customize all these settings from this operator box. The start and the end fields together define the length of the wall, and we can change the length as needed. Then these top and bottom fields are given for the height of the wall, and we can define this height as needed by simply changing these fields. Then, these fields are for the dimensions of the blocks or the bricks. To match with our requirement, we can easily change the length, or width, or depth of the bricks. You can see that we have a variance and a minimum field here. They will add a random pattern for each of the dimensions so that the generated bricks are not of the same size. Then this grout is for the gaps between the bricks, and you can customize these gaps as well. It is usually better to keep a very short gap between the bricks. Then we have some additional features like openings. This will add an opening into our wall. This also comes with some options, like the top arch, which adds an arch in the upper section. Similarly, we have a bottom arch as well for the bottom part, and if we disable both of them, we'll get a simple rectangular opening. There are two more flavors, like we can create a curved wall. We'll use this technique when we look at how to create a tunnel. We can easily create a subway, or maybe an arch gate. Then we have a radial option. It will give us a circular structure like this. We'll see how to use it when we create a fort. And if we enable both the options together, we'll get a dome shape like this. It may be useful in some cases if you need this. So we have covered some of the important options, and I also like this crenels. It will create some crenels, or a parapet wall, which will be useful for our fort. We can change the width of the crenels from here, and the number of the crenels automatically get adjusted. We can also customize the height of the crenels from here. Another interesting option is steps. It will create a staircase along our wall, and its length or width, or its height, or even the step size, everything can be customized. Then within this staircase, I also like this option called Steps Only. It will only keep the steps and remove the staircase. We often see this kind of hanging stairs in video games, so now you can also create that, and it just takes 1 minute. Now, let's say you created this, and then you find some more changes to be done, but the operator box has disappeared. You can get it back with F9 or adjust last operation, and make your changes in this box. Next, we'll see how to use this in order to create a structure like a tunnel and then a fort. Let's first use the menu option to create a basic wall like before with all default options. Now we can customize the settings for our wall from this operator box. We'll disable the openings and enable the curved option. So we get the quarter of a full circle or a tube, and to remove the uneven edges of the bricks, we have to reduce this edging value to 0. It will make the end of our tunnel perfectly smooth. We can also change the length of the tunnel by changing the start and the end values. They define the start and end points of the tunnel. Then in the Modifiers tab, let's add a mirror modifier and mirror it with respect to the y-axis, because in this case, the tunnel is parallel to the x-axis. So that's it, our tunnel is ready, and you can now apply this modifier if you want. In the same way, we can create a subway or a tube station. Nothing is difficult. Now let's discuss how to create a fort, starting from the same basic wall like before. But this time, we need a vertical structure, so first, we'll disable the openings, then enable this radial option. Now, we need to change the value of this bottom field in order to create a hole inside this plate. The top value is its radius, and by changing the bottom value, we can create a ring-type structure. We need to also change individual brick size, so let's change the width to 2, and the depth to say 1. So, here we are ready with just one layer of the vertical structure. Now we need to duplicate it. You can either use Shift-D, or simply copy-paste this ring wall to create a copy, and select this new copy. We need to move it above the first layer, so change its Z location to 1. Or maybe 1.1, so that there is a little bit of gap between these two layers. We need to also change its Z rotation, so that the layers are placed with some offset, like a brick structure. Now select them together, and join them from here. We have to then go to the Modifiers tab, and add an array modifier. Change the x factor to 0, and the z factor to 1, and the count value can be 10, or some other number based on how tall you want it to be. So the vertical structure is ready. We'll now add the top part of this fort. So again, go to the Add menu, and add a basic wall through the Wall Factory. This time, we have to turn on both the radial and the curved options, and we'll also use Crenel's option. We can adjust this field in order to increase the Crenel height. Let's make it 0.4%, and the width field can be 0.15. We need to then move it upward to the top, so let's change the Z location here. And it should be also upside down, so we need to change the X rotation or the Y rotation to 180. Then scroll up to the brick dimension. We need to change these dimensions in order to get our Crenels look better. We'll first change the width to 1.5, then the height can be say 0.3, and finally the depth can be say 2. So the Crenels now look good, along with the parapet wall. We need to ensure that the radius of this top portion is matching with that of the vertical part. We can fine-tune these values to match them. Let's fast forward this, since there is nothing to discuss, it's just based on trial and error. Overall, you'll need to experiment with all these values to create what you exactly need. Lastly, we need a base for this fort. So again, let's go to the Wall Factory to create a basic wall. This time, we'll turn off the Crenel's option. And we need to reduce the height of this base to make it shorter. So let's change this bottom value to 13.5. And we need to place the entire fort on top of this, so let's select these parts together, then slightly move them upward, and fine-tune the position. That takes us to the end of this exercise. We're ready with our fort model. Now you can add materials and other things. And I forgot to cover one thing earlier. Let's say you have created a wall with a single opening, but you want to add more of them. So if you click on this repeat button here, it will add a number of openings based on the length of the wall. And if you increase the width of the openings, the gap between them can shrink down to 0. To rectify this, you need to increase this indent value. Then you can also change this bevel field to get different types of bevels. That actually gives us different styles for the openings. So that's all for today. I hope you like this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.